This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. You can text the show on 81215, follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio, and email the show via the Absolute Radio website. Morning, Jim.
Morning.
Morning, Peter.
Morning, Richie.
So, here we are in Edinburgh again. Absolutely lovely. Sunshine.
Absolutely
Today,
loving it
so
here.
far.
It hasn't been all the way through the week, though, has it? There's been
a bit of torrential rain.
torrential downpour.
Starting off with talking about the weather.
We are.
I like it.
Yeah, some stations.
Sensing you
That's,
don't.
that's all they get on some stations.
Yeah. At least we're on a ramp to being interesting.
I have.
Speak for yourself.
I have bigger news for those of you who read the Daily Mirror on page 37 today.
Can I just say, I thought you were going to do some Scottish news when you said bigger news.
No, this is from Bigger.
Yeah, the place Bigger.
Yeah.
No.
Thank you.
It might be relevant. I don't know, but this there is a quarter of a page. Now, to buy a quarter of a page advert in a national
I can
newspaper.
give you a rough. I'd
Could
say
you?
that was at least between £3,000 and £4,000.
Really?
Do you
Wow.
think?
National newspaper, yeah.
It's actually an advert for shoes. And I don't mean shoes that have an elaborate nature that need to be introduced to the public
It's not sort of like
with a fanfare.
a gold Louboutin.
I mean, just a pair of straight black men's shoes.
Are they brogues? Are they Oxfords or
brogues
brogues?
are available. It says
Those look like Oxfords.
these are the three options: traditional brogue, a superb stitched and punched dress shoe.
Yeah.
Also, Frank, sorry to interrupt. Should be my autobiography. The superb. I mean, I'll be the judge of that.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Slip-on version. A casual loafer, ideal for weekend wear.
Well,
What do you mean by that?
well, that is where the term loafer comes from, isn't it? From loafing about.
I am a casual loafer.
Yes.
Also, I'll decide what I'll be doing on my weekends, and I won't be wearing Oxfords.
But
Yeah.
you know what? They are the most... I mean, I'm sure I'm not suggesting they're not a lovely pair, but they're just, they're black shoes. I don't need an advert to make me think. I've never thought... I wonder if you can get shoes in black with laces. I wonder if they exist. But someone has spent... I mean, I just don't understand what's going on. And advertising... And guess what? We've got these things that cover your feet if you're walking about. They take some of the edge off the surface friction. Anyway, national newspaper. We'll find out. See, my partner, Kath, if ever we see a shop that's even slightly unusual, she'll say, that's a front for drugs.
For money laundering.
Well,
Oh,
she's
stuff
already
else.
got the fear. She has... I mean, Kath has a lot of strange phobias.
Oh, yeah.
One of which I think is the oversized shoe shop in your locale.
Oh.
Is she
But-
slightly frightened of that? I know we've discussed
We
that.
had a
Well,
bit
but-
of
no one
fun with
goes
that.
in there. It's a very mysterious thing.
Yes.
I had to look in... me and Boz looked in the window the other day at some of the shoes.
Oh,
and
Mr. Ben.
it's impossible not to laugh out loud at enormous shoes.
Is it?
It is. I'm thinking I might get some for my hat.
Sounds right. Yeah, me too.
They're just ridiculously big. And I'll tell you what happens with the enormous shoes in the enormous shoe shop down our road is that the bit that goes around the ankle is not that enormous. So if you start at the back, it's a bit, you don't suspect
Right.
a thing.
It seems like it's going to be normal shoe.
You're proceeding normally in a northerly direction.
They're stealth enormous.
Yeah, but once you get to the laces, that's when you look ahead of you and there's like an airplane runway of leather
Excellent.
extending out. Really something special. Anyway, as you probably guessed, we've been in Edinburgh. And we're not used to getting up this early at the moment. But it's all going tremendously well.
Yeah. I'm loving it. I've seen so many shows. I've been hoovering up shows, Frank.
I mean, good on you for that. And I should say that when we left the studio last week, we met a man called Mark, who gave us some Edinburgh Festival themed bookmarks.
Yeah.
Lovely.
We never did a joke about the fact that he's called Mark and he gave us bookmarks.
Oh, yeah.
It's a missed opportunity. You see,
You've been ruining that for a week.
I think, well, you have
You've
3
been
hours.
Michelle ruining that.
You have 3 hours on the show, and then you come off. You've just took
run
your
out.
foot off the pedal for those first few hundred yards.
Yeah.
Mark caught us in the gap between the keys, as it were.
Well, he gave you the bookmarks, and I was hovering behind, and I
Oh,
thought,
were you?
I thought he was going to just drive off on the cycle. I'm not going to lie, and I was absolutely devastated.
Can I say Emily was actually literally hovering? I've never seen her do that.
Yeah.
It's only about 6 to 7 inches off the
Dynamo
ground.
taught me.
It was really amazing.
Dynamo taught me.
Yeah, luckily I had a large hula hoop with me, which I was able to
that
pass
helps.
around her
That helps.
to establish that she wasn't being assisted in any way.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
So, my show continues
Lovely.
at the Gordon Aitman Theatre. Sold out, so don't trouble
Keep seeing
yourself.
posters of you were sold out and blazoned.
I know, they have emblazoned.
Well, he's so sold out. I've had VIP requests for tickets.
Have you?
All sorts.
Well, I mean, you sent me a video yesterday, which was
Yeah.
Do you want to tell Alan what it contained?
well, it was Emily sort of being held prisoner
Oh, yeah.
by the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, and him saying, "I want tickets for your show, or you'll never see Emily again."
Right.
He ended it by saying, "Your choice, mate."
He did, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He did actually say, "Mate."
And he ended up, I believe, going to see your show.
He did. In fact, get this.
What?
I was in the wings ready to go on, and
Yeah.
the guy, the stage manager said to me, "We're having to hold the show because Sadiq Khan is still 3 minutes away."
Frank, I'm so sorry to be responsible for that, but
Yeah.
what can I do?
And
You're a popular man. I got a text saying, Sadiq is desperate to see Frank.
well, it was.
He's a desperate man. He's a big fan, it turns out.
So in the end, we held the show about 8 minutes for the Mayor of London.
I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
As I pointed out on stage, if we'd been at a London theatre and someone had said, the Mayor of Edinburgh's coming, but he's late, and I would have said, "So what? Who cares?" So I felt a bit, and a lot of people seem to, the Edinburgh people seem to agree with me.
I mean, some of the constituents of London might well be listening to this thinking, shouldn't they be focusing on us?
Hey,
They should.
He's entitled to
Sadiq is my friend.
Is he? I
We'll
did
show
not
his
know that.
pals
I
now.
gave him a
All
bit
right.
of stick for that.
Oh, good.
I said that my 7-year-old son's lungs are full of tar because of the filthy, polluted air in London. The only man who can do anything
Alcohol.
about it is at a comedy show in Scotland. But he took it all pretty well. We began by asking him if he'd. I said, "Have they given you your booster cushion?" He seemed all right with it.
Well, we'll soon find out.
I sang Maybe It's Because I'm a Londoner, ending with a coughing fit. I mean, I threw it all in, I have to say.
Good for you.
Absolutely. I
I
think it,
suspect he's traumatised.
yeah, it was the bit when I asked him if his partner ever gets tempted to say, "I'm having a bit of a mare tonight." Then I had to back off him a bit while he called. But yeah, I think the audience liked him being in there, you know.
Good. Oh, I'm glad it panned out.
Yeah.
He's probably leafing through a massive manual to find out what tax he can put up on Frank Street alone today.
I won't be sending him to your show then.
No, don't.
He doesn't wear the chain, does it? Don't they not wear
Well,
the
Sadiq,
I think
he's
those-
not a
Doesn't seem
chain
to, do they?
type.
But they never do, did they? Because Ken Livingstone, Boris Johnson, all mayors of London, they never wore the chain.
No.
Maybe they're the sort of...
That's Lord Mayor. It's a very different
Yeah.
job.
London
I bet
Mayor
there
is
is.
more dressed down Friday, isn't it?
I bet it is. I think it is. Bring your own toys in.
Yeah.
It's a bit more David Cameron on a Sunday.
I think it's...
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a bit... aren't they trying to get to be MPs and stuff. Whereas,
Yeah.
you know, when you meet the mayor of somewhere,
Yes.
it's
They're at the pinnacle.
yeah, exactly. They've totally peaked with the, once they
Absolutely.
get the big medallion. That's it. They never look back.
Yeah.
I met one in a 3-cornered hat once. You know,
Brilliant.
You see, I think
mean-
of them more as a sort of Coronation Street matriarch, the regional mayor.
yeah. Well, you do. I mean, you get all sorts in the mayor business, but yeah, I always think you're on the way out when you become mayor, aren't you? Probably. Isn't it?
Why
Isn't
do you
it?
say that?
I don't mean the kind of mayor that Sadiq Khan is. I mean the sort of one with the fur trimmed.
The local mayor. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They're
I
definitely.
think it's a thank you for
They've
years
reached the
of
pinnacle.
Is
service.
it? Is it the carriage cloth?
It's the apex.
I think it is.
Well,
that.
then you better tell Dick Whittington. He got
Yes.
it all wrong.
Yeah.
No, because Dick Whittington wasn't he? He was leaving London,
Yeah, but he turned.
and then he could turn.
Again and again he would turn.
Dick Whittington, and pioneered the political cat, of course, which they talk about all the time now at Downing Street, as if it's a new thing.
Mm-hmm.
But Whittington was at the forefront of the political cat
Although
figure.
there's talk that Boris Johnson may get a dog.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So I've heard.
Be great if he did a dog walking podcast.
Oh, what if he did? But
What
not
a
if
scoop.
not if he went on Emily's, but if he started his arrival one.
Oh, that would be awful.
That we couldn't have that. And I mean, what about my horse riding one I'm doing? We led. Well, it was two of us, but we're led by assistants. We never canter or anything of that.
Yeah.
Although it would be good if you had a galloping section. He says, "Hey, so you interview?" Yeah, okay. I don't feel we've really started yet, but we're on the ramp.
I'm enjoying it.
Oh, good. Okay.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Oh yeah, I tell you what, my week. Well, I haven't just been doing shows and watching shows. I watched the first match of the good old football season.
Oh, yeah.
Lovely. Have you still got
that
Boilerman?
I didn't see Boilerman on the coverage.
Oh, they've
but
not sold him in the transfer window, have they?
I had to go. Oh, that'd be terrible.
Turn up at Huddersfield and he's there.
Oh, it seems like a good idea now, but come the winter months, that'll be an error. No, I went to my manager's flat in Edinburgh to watch.
Lovely.
Nice.
Luxurious.
Is it?
Oh.
I mean, I've got a perfectly okay flat, but when I saw
Yeah.
where my managers were living, you know that
Is it a bit of a whole
scene.
new world?
You know that scene at the end of Animal Farm where the animals all look through the window into the farmhouse and there's pigs and men dining at an enormous feast. It was that moment. But anyway, they...
Or was it like the end of The Usual Suspects when he suddenly makes all the connections?
exactly. But anyway, me and Matt Ford supports Matt Ford, the popular comedian and host of Rock and Roll Football, of course.
Yes.
Yes.
He supports Nottingham Forest and I support West Bromwich Albion. They were playing each other on the first game of the
Oh,
season.
so you had a date?
So we met at my manager's flat.
So he
And,
sort of moderated the whole thing just in case there's any fisticuffs or something.
It's a chaperone figure.
He was. We should say Matt is doing a show up here called Brexit Pursued by a Bear.
I saw it last night.
And last
Absolutely brilliant.
and last year, well, he is amazing, Matt. And last year he did Brexit through the gift shop.
Yeah.
He must be hoping they sort it out soon.
I
'Cause there
know.
can't be
Stop doing
that.
exit
can't-
puns.
There aren't that many left. I wouldn't have thought.
I was so good, but I was waiting. I'm so attached to the Donald Trump impression that I did have that. I felt bad because I was thinking a bit like, imagine being at a Celine Dion gig thinking, you've got to play My Heart Will Go On, the Titanic one. Come on. I need it. I needed the Trump and he delivered.
Well, great news. He's probably going to get re-elected next year, so this is the gift that keeps on giving.
Well, if Sadiq Khan drops in,
Yeah.
he'll enjoy the Donald Trump impression. Won't he?
Oh, will he?
Yeah, yeah.
They get on like a.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so yeah, I that's got me thinking now. What's his next? If Brexit is still happening, he'll have to
Oh,
bring
yeah.
in like Tony Braxton. reference or something like that. Really start pushing it to the absolute. Anyway, so we watched the game, and West Bromwich Albion won. So he went down a bit. He got a bit blue.
Oh, dear.
I mean, as in depressed, not
Right.
Well, he got a bit blue in every sense of the word. Come to think of it.
And then your manager made it worse by putting on a washing machine load and shoving it in the tumble dryer just to rub it in.
No, so we walked back after the game, and me and Matt Ford, and I said, "Well, look, I'll go past the Pleasance where he's playing, and you can, and I'll drop you off at your gig." He was still quite down about the game, but he had a shirt on a coat hanger, a piece of, like dry cleaning. And really the only way to carry that is to carry it by the hook.
Yeah.
It's an awkward thing to carry. And we was walking along, and he said, "What really gets me about this is that people will think this is yours and I'm carrying it for you." I said, "No, people will recognise you, Matt." He said, "Yeah, but that makes it worse." So there's that Matt Ford, but even in the pecking order, he has to carry Frank Skinner's dry cleaning. Like I say, he'd gone a bit bleak by the stage because of the football. But
of course, if he listened to this show last week, he'd know that you only brought 2 suits, so they might well be on the right there.
And one of those got a stain on it.
Yeah, well,
Did you get that stain out?
No, I've lived with it. Well, I'm nearly.
So have the rest of us, love.
I'm reaching second suit. It is actually second suit day today. So when I go on stage tonight, the first suit has done its surface. It's still steaming in the.
Found its own way.
Yeah. Well, it's been very hot.
I think if I'd brought 2, I would have gone alternate nights.
Oh no. I like the idea there's a clean suit waiting for me. Now, I was brought up on tag wrestling on a Saturday afternoon, where you tap someone and then... I know they do come in and come out, but now that suit now, I've really wore it into the realms of rancidity. And it'll be lovely to put a fresh one on. So anyone who's got tickets for tonight, lucky you.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I've been doing a bit of press as well. I did Joe Wiley's radio show in front of an audience of what looked like about 10,000 people. I don't know if it was that many.
Oh, where was it? In a field?
It was in a big tent.
Big blue tent, maybe.
Joe Wiley still hasn't caught that roadrunner.
Oh.
No. But I tell you what's difficult. It's great that the show's sold out. But I find myself on the sofa sitting with people, and then the host says, "So where are you at?" And I say, "Well, I'm at Assembly Rooms, but it is sold out," because I think you don't want people to keep phoning up or whatever. But of course, in Edinburgh, if you're sold out, then you become a public hate figure amongst your contemporaries. So that's been difficult for me.
It?
Yeah. If I said I'm having a really torrid time, I'd be loved. I'd have an arm round me and stuff like that.
Well, why have you got that
I must
impression?
try that.
What, you think they just don't...
Well, it's difficult. I would have felt the same when I wasn't selling out, and I'm sure I will in the future. But what can you do? So you feel a bit like you've just gone on to gloat. But I'll tell you what we did do on Joe Wiley. Do you know that? It's a song I've played on this show a few times by Nicole Atkins called A Little Crazy. It's about being dumped.
Oh, yes, I remember you playing that, yeah. It makes you sad, doesn't it?
Yes, and I picked that and I did slightly cry.
Did you?
What, in front of people?
In front of about 10,000.
I did slightly cry. It
wasn't
reminds me of that very posh man who said, "I did rather try."
Yes.
Writing you.
Yeah, well, I find it very difficult to listen to that song without crying.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, I demonstrated this on the telly once. I can't sing my way through Hopelessly Devoted to You without crying. I can't get through it.
Really?
It's just too much.
Oh.
So, I cry pretty easy nowadays.
He looks a bit tearful now.
Well, no, I'm all right now.
Okay.
But
Can I ask a question? Did you two meet this week?
we did, yeah.
We had a bit of lunch yesterday.
Oh, I'm really excited to hear about it.
Yeah, we went Mexicano
Did you? In the daytime?
in the daytime.
Spicy
Yeah.
daytime? I wouldn't have gone that day.
Well,
What do you think the Mexicans do in the daytime?
I moved today a place that had a brunch menu, and Frank said, let's go Mexican. It feels like we're on holiday.
Well, I thought, yeah, it's more holiday, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It
On
was,
holiday.
How was it?
It was good. We discussed the affairs of the day. I mean, I'll not lie. I think Frank sold out his whole run, and he was sort of having lunch with me as an intervention to make sure I was okay. It was like a little pastoral care.
Nothing of the sort. Nothing of the sort. So, yeah, so, you know,
Which is nice.
Talked about our shows, about
Did you?
life,
What
about
did you talk
comedy.
about?
Oh, but it was also simple then. Time has rewritten every line. We talked about, obviously, we talked a little bit about fitness.
Did you? Did you talk about fitness?
Yeah.
I've forgotten that.
When you greet each other, can I ask a question? Do you go, all right, mate?
Yeah, well,
What
it
do you
takes
say?
about 10 minutes because we do quite an extraordinarily complicated fist bump and
Oh, yeah,
hand
that took ages.
elbow touching.
No,
I spin.
you would do
I spin
that.
at one point.
You would do that, I think,
drop
with your
into the
grappling
splits.
friends.
I can't do that.
But
No,
Frank won't know how to
Al
respond.
sent me a video the day before for me to
learn it.
to learn the hand bob.
Did really well though.
I got a bit, you know, it's
You're
like
a quick study.
On Strictly, I got a bit lost halfway through, but Al, being the professional, managed to pull me back.
I led.
Who paid?
It was lovely. Don't ask that.
Frank Skinner insisted.
Did he?
Don't ask that.
Very nice. Told you it was an intervention.
You paid.
I paid, but we
lovely.
went for coffee then, and Al paid for that. So.
Coffee after the lunch.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's a good day.
We live like kings. It reminds
Doing all right,
me,
are we?
Reminds me when I was unemployed. I used to be in a bedsit with and another guy in the same bedsit was unemployed, and we'd go out and have a cup of tea at a cafe, and then go to the Oxfam shop, get togged up.
Well, we could do that next week, Frank, if you want. I'm up for the Oxfam
you
shop
know,
if you're into
I've
it.
got the street of charity shops
Oh, yeah.
next to me, so we could go on a sort of the charity shop equivalent of a pub crawl.
Let's do it.
What if we have to build an outfit with something from each of the shops?
I'm in. Sounds great.
That'd be great. By the end of it, oh man, I'll have a sort of Moomins t-shirt and a pinstripe jacket on and stuff like that, a pair of flares. Let's do
There was
it.
a pinstripe.
We can do it. There might be a short-term iPlayer documentary in it.
Yeah.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Like a very strange
Let's go
thing.
crazy.
A very strange thing has happened.
Yes.
Michael Coffey has got in touch.
Yeah.
He doesn't sound like my cup of tea.
Oh,
You?
you have no grounds for that.
Hey.
Oh, stop stirring. Frank.
Poor Michael Coffey's had that his whole life.
His whole life.
Poor Michael Coffey.
No, let him pour it himself.
Very
He
good.
can't stop.
You did it.
Yeah, it was you.
I was just completing the triumvirate.
Okay.
Frank, I've heard at Badil make reference to you having had a hair transplant. Sorry.
What? What?
Emily can't read this without laughing.
David Baddiel says I've had a hair transplant.
That's right.
A few times now.
What? A few times.
Repeat offender.
Is there any
Oh God!
truth
What
to
if I
this?
sue him?
Oh, that would be good.
Well, I saw this during the break and I'm not going to lie, I was staggered.
It would be like when you know Harry Corbett, who had Sooty, sold Sooty, the rights to Sooty, to his son Matthew Corbett.
Oh, yeah.
And then Matthew found out that Harry was doing like little local events with Sooty
Oh,
still.
no.
And apparently, eventually, Matthew had to threaten him with legal action. This is how this is going to go, I think.
Well, I was somewhat disturbed / intrigued.
Yeah.
So during the break, I Googled. I hope no one ever finds my phone if I have an accident and sees Frank Skinner plus hair transplant plus David Baddiel. And what came up was a website called Hair Transplant Info. Celebrity hair transplant example photos. They have. I'm not confirming that any of these people, can I say, have had hair transplants.
No.
Okay,
They just
Elton
happen to be
John.
on this website.
Just on a suspicion.
Francis Rossi,
Okay.
Barry from EastEnders, which seems like a rather undignified way to refer to him. I believe his name is Sean Williamson.
Indeed.
I like that I'm calling out for his dignity whilst reading out about his hair transplant. And then there is a picture, much to my surprise, there are 3 photographs of you, Frank, saying, Frank Skinner's hair transplant doesn't look too bad.
Oh, well, that's good.
This person continues, this funny guy, who is a writer and a comedian,
You'll take that.
get it the other way round,
Yeah.
is one of those guys who combs his hair forward most of the time.
Also not true.
This covers up the hairline, making it more difficult to see the surgery. What?
Surgery.
But the fact that he
Surely I can take legal action.
I mean, from this side, the scar looks invisible. Frank,
Yeah,
I'll
well,
tell you that.
I left a button down so I can carry documents close to my scalp. Surely I can do something about that.
I mean, it's extraordinary.
Can I officially testify now that I've not had a hair transplant?
Well, at least
But I want to
Gordon
find
Ramsay.
out.
is
You would
30,000
say that, mate.
Gordon
You would
Ramsay
say that.
has 30,000 been flushed down the drain.
Is that right?
So rude. You came out a bit well, Frank.
Well, no, I didn't. I've been compared to... Well, but David Baddiel has been saying this. I've got to check this out. Et tu, Brute.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
I've also got a mouthful of almond croissant. As a
Okay.
It's not
result.
all bad, is it?
No,
Well, I was telling...
there's people out there, you know.
Yeah.
Sans croissant.
They are completely
Sans
sold.
almond croissant.
Now, Emily just told a fabulous tale, which I think didn't go out. No one really knows.
I mean, it might have
good,
been
though.
the anecdote of my life. I will never get that time back.
And included
well-
a strong plug for Gareth Richards.
Yeah, that's the
and
way.
that's
That's the
gone.
way his luck's going.
Yes, indeed.
First time we've had... It might be the power outages. They've had them in London, apparently. Anyway...
Well, shall I give you a small rant?
Do you want to do a little précis? And as Alan
Gareth-
says, I
Gareth-
don't want Gareth to lose his plug that I gave
No,
him.
Gareth Richards,
Friend of the show.
who used to be on the show pre Cockerell Day,
Yeah.
BC.
Yeah.
and Emily went to see his
Before
show,
Cockerell.
which she loved.
I absolutely loved it. It's called 40 Years in the Wilderness.
And the nature of the Free Fringe up here is
Yeah.
that at the end of the show, you make a contribution of your own choice into some sort of receptacle. Sometimes it's
Yes.
a bucket or a box or
What
whatever.
sort of amount we were saying? I would say normally you've got to go minimum green. If it's a friend, which it was in my case, brown.
Okay,
Yes.
so you put
Okay.
you put a tenner in
I
there.
put £10 in because I enjoyed the show.
Absolutely.
It
Good
was
stuff.
a metal wine cooler, which was placed on a stool.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Oh God, it's so depressing, the whole image.
Yes.
Well, you didn't say that in the last link.
No, I know.
Um,
It's that time to sink in. Besides, I've been depressed by all the other things.
I
that
know.
have
The
gone
bit
on.
that
Well, it
really...
wasn't because it was a good show.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Just say what
So
happened.
that's the good bit.
Yes.
The bad bit is that a member of staff found £20 that you said was yours.
Well, when you
Am I
say
right?
you say was yours,
Yeah, it does sound like I'm
this has
casting
already
doubt.
started exactly with suspicion on me. A member of staff, I put £10 in. A member of staff came up to me and said, "Oh, I've just found £20 on the floor. May as well put this in." The £20 note was under the stool I'd been sitting on. I noticed it had been folded 5 times in the origami fashion that I favour.
Now I'm intrigued by. I let
Yeah, I
this
think we
pass
should-
last time.
Yeah, we should go over that over
Yeah.
brunch with
Do you-
Emily's.
I'll show you the
note.
notes in a minute.
How do
We'll
you
Insta it.
fold? How do you fold a £10 note? Because I
will show
find
you.
the plasticity of the modern tenner
Oh, yeah.
almost on. I mean, it won't let. I like to build a small Nissan hot type thing.
Oh, do
with
you have a
them.
yurt in your wallet?
So
Or
I
are you
go.
just pleased to see me?
So I tend to go for corrugation. That's what I go for.
Frank's wallet.
It was
like
a
a
hell of a-
skyscraper, wasn't it? Never
Frank's
mind a
wallet,
yurt.
very pleased to see me. So anyway,
I
Frank.
eschew cash nowadays.
So anyway, he saw the £20 note, popped it in. I thought, oh my heavens, that's my money.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this
So
is
now
a
you've
person that
inadvertently
normally gets
paid-
free tickets for stuff. So to pay £30,
£30 for a friend.
For a
£30
free
for a
show.
show which I loved, but as I said
Yeah.
before, that's what I think the Killers charge for Hyde Park.
There's never been a show that anyone loved 30 quid.
absolutely.
Well, it's a Sinatra final gig, maybe.
Well,
Yeah.
I saw Sinatra at the Albert Hall.
How much?
I paid £4.50. That's true.
Was it?
That's absolutely
That's
true.
pre-decimalisation.
That was in the late 70s, and I stood. There were standing seats. You know, at the Albert Hall, in high in the dome, you can stand and look over the
Oh, really?
over the rail, and it was cheap seats. Yeah.
Oh. So,
yeah.
I
so
still
this
need
is
to
where we
know.
left it out,
What
on
was
the
our
cusp.
outcome?
Okay, well, it just so happens.
I then put my hand.
Hold it, let's stop it there.
Okay.
So we're going to freeze the scene with Emily's hand above the wine cooler. I mean, a gig here where people desperate, trying to make a living out of comedy, and then a rich, successful woman from North London is hovering over the wine cooler, about to dip in. We'll be back with more.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
I'm-
So your hand is over the bucket.
My hand is poised over the bucket, not sure whether to retrieve my £20 note, which has inadvertently fallen into Gareth's collection box, or just to accept that it's gone.
Or you could have took, of course, if you
10
took the
back out.
tenner out, or then you'd have still paid
I was
20.
about to do that, but my issue at this point is that Gareth's about to walk back in. He is about to witness me. If that should happen, when I'm putting my hand into the collection box, about to do the switch over, he will just see me taking money out of his collection box, and he will never know
Yeah.
whether I was stealing from him.
See, if it had been Alan's gig, you wouldn't have risked what would have been the enormous rat trap that was in the bottom of that bucket.
So I decided, you know what, I'm going to... I peered over it just to check that it was my note, and
Yeah.
indeed it was.
Was there anything else in it?
Yes, there was a lot of money.
Okay, all right.
There's a lot of money. So at that moment, I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm happy to give him the money, but I want him to know that I've put this much money in.
Oh,
Right.
no, God, it gets more
I know,
complicated.
it's awful.
This doesn't
So I'm
sound like it could be
holding-
awkward at all.
Alan, I'm holding the collection box.
Right.
Unbeknownst to me at this
Isn't
moment,
yours.
the next...
You're holding it.
Yeah, because I was his friend, and I thought, well, I'll give it to him. And then
Right.
I'll feel sort of like at least I'm getting some credit for my vast contribution. I'm holding it. I don't come out of this well. I'm holding it. The next act, the female comic came on, saw me with the collection box, unbeknownst to me, walked out and said to Gareth, you know there's a woman who's taken your collection box.
Great.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I didn't know this was going on at the time. He reported it to me later.
So then you were hit in between the shoulders by a crossbow blade.
Frank Skinner.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
So I walked out. He was talking to someone. I didn't know how to handle it. And I thought, Faye, who's one of our staff, was there and witnessed this. But I thought...
One of us.
Well, you coined the phrase. I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I had seen that comic eyeing me suspiciously. I thought, I want to legitimise my relationship with this collection box. So I did the strangest thing, didn't I? I started counting the money.
Oh,
bit,
nice.
bit of a familiar.
I started saying 10, 20. Oh, good, we're doing well. Because I wanted
Right.
everyone to think I wasn't stealing, which I wasn't.
It's one of those moments in life when you really want in your handbag one of those verifiers of non-counterfeit
Yes.
notes. You know those
the pens.
ones that
Yeah.
you really want one of those. Then you could have appeared like
I
some
could have
sort of
appeared
fringe
legitimate, but
official.
I thought I'll count it out. And I said, oh, we've done very well. I said, we.
Interesting. Exactly your response was what a fraudster would do. Start pretending they're part of the company.
Exactly.
Well, in the end, I was feeling hot. I had to get out of there. I felt sick. So I counted it up, shoved the collection box at Gareth.
You literally counted.
I counted it. I told him
Because
what
you
had
know
been
what the
made.
next question is.
Do that off air.
That's Gareth making.
I told him what had been made, and I said, I put £10 in, but then £20 fell in by mistake, but I've decided to let you have it.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
And then I left.
Hold on. Surely you've missed the part where Gareth said, "Oh no, please have the £20."
No, he didn't say that. He said, "Okay."
Wow.
So, Al, I'm just saying there's something about that seat. Yeah, he was fine with it. He said, "Okay."
Okay.
So, I mean, it was a great show.
Sounds like he didn't believe your story to me.
I know. Do you think he thought I was a thief?
No, I don't think he thinks
No,
you're
I
a
think
thief.
he thought, I'm having that. It's good because, first of all, the person who worked there seemed like the bad guy. Then you, then the woman on stage, then you again. And happily, at the end of it, Gareth has come in like the cavalry and come like some sort of... robber of the friend robber. It's a great tale.
He did say to me, Frank, at the end, when I told him, when I fessed up afterwards, he texted me and he said, "Oh, thanks." He said, "I thought someone had put a £20 note in when I saw that. They really liked the show and now you've ruined it."
Oh,
okay.
Gets better. Well, it was an anecdote that deserved a break for 4 songs, 9 phone calls to London, and the engineer being called back from Starbucks. Thank goodness it wasn't just casual banter.
Frank Skinner. Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
I had a very lower league awkward moment when I was in a queue yesterday. I mean, compared to Emily's, I feel like mine is Vauxhall Conference of awkward moments.
Come on now,
but,
don't undersell it.
But you know,
The fact that we're even on air, let's celebrate
yeah,
that.
we should celebrate that.
Well, I like the personnel who just
I am-
texted me to say, I'm trying to drive Clive, one of our regulars, but the claws of cringe are making it difficult after that.
Yeah,
anecdote.
he's gripping the steering wheel with some vigour. I went to watch. I mean, it's a weird booking. I went to watch the broadcaster Ian Dale interviewing the controversial and somewhat outspoken historian Dr. David Starkey.
Oh, yeah.
Just because I like going to see people that are a bit contrarian, I suppose.
Yeah.
You know, swimming against the
wonder
tide.
what that would be.
I don't know what it could be,
No.
but some
Dr.
people.
David Starkey, Al, he's got to be careful. He can be confused with Dr. David Banner.
Yes, true enough.
Who was Frank?
Well,
The-
well, you see, the thing
I
is
know,
with
it
that,
was changed for the comic.
is that in the comic he was Bruce Banner.
He was Bruce Banner. But
And
in the
then they made him
TV
David. They made
series,
him David.
played by Bill Bixby, the
That's
Hulk
right.
was.
Yes.
Back to Starkey.
David Starkey, by the way, I mean, some of my show is ruffling feathers. About 3 minutes in, he'd been on and he was asked a question about his childhood. And he said that he'd grown up in the countryside and he went, "I absolutely loathe the Lake District." And I was thinking, whoa, no one dares say that.
That's a good
People
opener.
think I'm controversial.
Good opener from Starkey.
But in the queue, I saw a man who was sort of standing in the queue, and I wasn't certain if it was the right queue for the show that I had a ticket for. And so I just went up to this stranger. Seemed very normal. I said, "Excuse me, what are you in the queue for?" And he said, "Well, I think I'm in the queue for Ian Dale and David Starkey." And I said, "Well, I hope you are." And he went, "Why?" And I went, "Well, because I've got some self-interest. I've got a ticket for that as well." And he went, "Right, do you work on it?" And I said, "No." And he said, "But you said you had some self-interest. Why?" And I went, "Because I've got a ticket for it as well, and I don't want to join the wrong queue." And he went, "Right." And I thought, and then we had to stand next to each other for minutes.
But you know, I find this in life that I've many times I think I just wish I'd spoken in the most basic terms here, because if you do any slight turn of phrase like that, any hint of other than the most
Factual.
straightforward,
Yeah.
people get confused and
Yeah.
slightly concerned that they think something's going on.
Well,
Yeah.
I find people increasingly transactional. So if you add any if there's anything florid or poetic or non-basic,
Well, it was a bit yin and yang, because by the time I got to the front, I held up to the ticket for the woman to rip it, and she went, wonderful, as if I'd held the ticket up in a really good way. So I just think I was better at holding up the ticket than everybody else in the queue.
That made the bloke think, well, she obviously knows him. He does work on the production.
But I'm good at holding up tickets. That's my strange fringe review.
I'm not so good at that. I'm good at hanging at the back of the queue and then getting in on my performer's pass.
Oh, nice.
I'm good
that's my great
at
strength.
fishing my hand into the collection box.
Well, exactly.
We've all got our strengths.
I'll tell you what, I'm never taking you to mass. I couldn't cope with that. Oh dear, the awkwardness. Well, I went to see a show called. Well, before I tell you what it was called, on the way in, it was one of these where the performer was sort of greeting people on the way in, which is it's a nice touch, but for me, it destroys the magic of theatre.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it was nice, you know. It made him. It put the crowd at ease and all that.
I have a real grass is greener about performers that can do that, because I think my introversion would just go too high right before the show. I don't really want to see people.
I don't know if I want to see them.
You see, I don't want to rob them of the thrill of me suddenly appearing.
Yes.
I don't want
in
to
your clean suit.
I don't want to
Blimey.
stagger that. So anyway, he leaned across to me when he shook my hand and
The
said,
performer.
yeah, and he said, the best stand-up. And I said, thank you so much. I know it's coming, it's going to be in the
Yeah,
world.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, thank you so much. And he was continuing in a sentence, the best stand-up I ever saw you do was at a funeral.
Oh.
That's what he said. And he had been at a funeral where I had spoken.
Right.
And I wasn't confident it was the best stand-up I'd ever done, but it did make me think I wish I'd taped it. I was going to say, you can't remember any of the biggies, can you? So that was how I was. That was how I was welcomed at the show. Again, now we've started the tradition of teasers. I'm going to tell you about the show. I must say, I did enjoy the show a lot, but I'll tell you more about it. There were some things which made my jaw swing open like an old postal satchel. You put that on your poster.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. Text us on 81215. Have we had any text? I haven't heard from the outside world.
Well, we've had
there was
some
one about
some
David
praise.
Baddiel saying I've had...
Oh, yes.
You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio and email the show via the Absolute Radio website. Hair
Someone has
transplant
just said,
gate.
oh no, we've just had a lot of people really enjoying the hair transplant mystery,
Yeah, it
including
is.
Prisoner 223. My stomach muscles are sore from hearing about your hair transplant.
It's you don't know the outrage, the inner outrage. Can you have inner outrage? Can you have enrage? I suppose.
Yeah.
Can you have enrage when you're outraged, but you bottle it all up?
You can have whatever you want because you're a
Okay, you know
national
what?
treasure.
I
Your
probably
name's on the
can.
door of the show, have it?
You
Okay,
can.
I'm enraged by it. Anyway, I was telling I was mid
Mid-anecdote.
show report.
Yes.
You were going to see something.
Yes, I went to see this show called Nerd World Problems.
Oh, that's so
World
you.
Problems.
Yeah.
Talking of which, did you see Doctor Who? We'll get
Pardon?
back to you.
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
I mean, I've seen Doctor Who. I haven't seen the
Were they
improvised one.
nerds, the men doing it? Or
No,
not?
it was just one guy doing it.
Was he a nerd?
What I did? He's a Rubik's Cube enthusiast.
Yes.
Okay.
Um,
Ever bought property of his own?
but well,
Still live with parents?
no,
Oh.
because I tell you what, his fiancée was doing
What?
the tech stuff. So don't stereotype. That's
I'm not.
That's my tip.
Well, I'm sorry, I've been in the audience of the Doctor Who, and I think it was fair enough.
But there's a lot of married men who look like they aren't, if you know
True.
what I mean.
Yes, that's true.
So Nerd World Problems was where your best material was at a funeral, is that right?
He was the one who said that my best ever stand-up gig was at a funeral. Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, it was.
Okay.
It was. I did love it. I mean,
Did you?
he did. I can say, obviously, I don't want to do spoilers, but I think some of it is fine, so 'cause he puts it on his website and stuff. He does a Rubik's Cube blindfolded.
Right.
No, I don't know about you. I've never done I've never even got close. I've done one face
Right.
of a
Yeah.
Rubik's
When I was
Cube.
9 or something.
You did the whole thing.
No, but I took
Okay.
the stickers off.
Yeah.
No, he.
It's not as
So
not
somebody
considered
mixed,
as much kudos, to be honest.
somebody mixed it up for him, and apparently one thing he said that in Rubik's Cube circles, if you don't do 20 moves minimum, you haven't really mixed it up. That's not.
So when you say Rubik's Cube circles, what are those circles?
I think
It's ironic if you think about it.
He's a member, yeah.
the
He's,
idea that people say
he's a. Well, it's
I'm mixing-
multifaceted.
I'm mixing the Rubik's
like all
Cube
cubes.
world.
Yes.
He said I think he might have used the word society,
All right.
yeah, or convention,
Yeah.
and but I couldn't work out because he had the feel of a magician.
Yeah.
Right? I've met a lot of magicians because one of my best mates was a magician, and I've met a lot, and they've
Name
all got a certain feel
Yeah.
to them.
Slithering.
No, certainly. They've just got, there's a certain
It's normally,
style.
and I'll tell you what the feel is. It's the polyester mix of the back of the waistcoat. It's what you're feeling.
Well, there's a,
It's
certain
static.
a certain style of.
They've all got a balloon stuck to the back of their hair.
There's a certain style of banter that they do.
Uh-huh.
And if I wanted to sum it up, it would be when you put your watch in their handkerchief
Yes.
and they've hammered it, and then
Yeah.
when they look at it, they go, "Oh, that is the kind of banter I'm talking." You know that well, yeah, that. But I have to say, I did love the show, and he did. It was just entertaining watching someone doing, and he did things. You know, he did memory thing, and he did a. I think I can't tell you this because
What were
it
the
was
memory
honest.
things? You see, anyone who remembers anything,
forgotten.
that's a trick at my
Yeah,
age.
I can't recall.
Is
Well,
it
I mean,
age
that-
appropriate?
do it-
How young
Well,
could
that's it,
someone
say.
go?
I'm thinking of taking Boz
Oh, are you?
to it because I think he would love it.
Oh,
I've
I'll
got
tell you
children
about.
coming up soon.
Okay, take both your children. I went to see The Amazing Bubble Man. Have you seen him?
I saw him once, and I think it was one of those days he hadn't got the mix right.
What, for the bubble?
I don't think there was a bubble in the show that lasted more than 0.4 of a second.
In
No,
a
but
way,
I liked it. But Amazing Bubble Man, at one point, when he starts doing a bit of material for the parents, he says, "Well, I did an English literature degree,"
Yes.
and I heard this kid say, "I want to see one, do one." Obviously,
Oh.
didn't want him to do the material.
No,
Oh, yeah.
I like that the kid wanted him to see her do an English literature degree. I mean, it'd be a long show. Yeah. Or maybe he just said, "I want you to do one."
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
So I'll tell you what he did, and like I say,
Yeah.
I think I can say this because he puts them on his on the internet.
Hmm.
Someone in the audience comes up with the name of a celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't think I'm spoiling this because he does put them up. So that person then whispers in his ears the name of the celebrity, and then he gets, I think it's 100 Rubik's cubes, and he starts changing them a little bit, not completing them, but just changing them a bit, and he steadily loads them into this frame, and when he's put the 100 in. He has made a sort of a pixels picture of that celebrity. Do you see what I mean?
I do, yeah.
Oh,
The
I see what you're
squares,
saying, yeah.
The little squares form. So this woman whispered apparently Patrick Stewart in his ear, and he did a brilliant Patrick Stewart as Jean-Luc Picard.
Patrick Stewart, by the way, little data point from Murfield, West Yorkshire.
Well, I
where
met him.
grew
I
up.
don't know if you remember. I met him at West Brom Huddersfield.
Yeah, he's at Huddersfield, fine.
So half of the cube is flesh coloured in his case.
Oh yeah,
well,
no
it was.
hair.
It was sort. It had a Warhol type modern
Oh, I
art
see, I
on it.
see.
But it was brilliant. I mean, it blew me away. I didn't think it possible. It must be a trick, hadn't it?
You didn't think it was possible to make a picture out of Rubik's Cube's faces?
Out of someone
Very
that
patronising.
Do
suddenly.
that all the time, don't we? All do that. That's like my
Bubble
hobby.
Man could do that.
Oh,
You know, you told me the other day that you'd watched 2 episodes of Pointless. I made a picture of Noel Edmonds out of 300 Rubik's Cubes. We're all different.
did you?
Yeah.
The beard.
Yeah.
It's massive, actually.
Which era? Which era? No,
Teletubbies. Not
See, that's
Teletubbies.
the thing with Noel
Oh, do you
Edmonds.
like him then?
No, it's not a legitimate question because he's always looked exactly the same. That's one of the.
Age well, not wither her.
What about?
That's what I say of Noel.
Yeah.
Can I say one of my favourite things I've heard on the Fringe so far? Oh, you got best ever joke.
Can I
didn't
just
you?
tell you one
What, Once
Patrick
Upon a
Stewart
Time?
thing?
I never did.
did?
I interviewed Patrick Stewart once, and I did things like make him put on a curly wig and
Right.
stuff like that.
Fine.
And I was sort of, taking the mickey out of him a bit. And he's a nice bloke, but he's quite a serious actor.
Yes.
And when he went off, his girlfriend was
Girlfriend.
there. Yeah. And he
I don't
sort
think you
of...
should have girlfriend past a certain age.
And he sort of, I think he's married to her now. And
Reader.
he sort of fell into her arms as if he'd been in a hostage situation and had just got off the plane.
Right.
And it really felt like he'd had the most terrible time. And she consoled him. I mean, oh dear. And obviously you don't want to upset Picard.
Nobody puts Picard in the corner.
I think he's forgiven me. He was nice to me at the match, but that day I felt for him. He really looked like he'd come out of at the ring.
He was bruised.
Yeah.
Matt Ford and
Yeah.
Patrick Stewart are on the Venn diagram of people that Frank watches the football with today.
Oh, that's true.
That's a brilliant Venn diagram.
It's a weird
isn't
one,
it?
isn't
What a
it?
brilliant person.
That's true. I'm thinking of other ones. Sir David Frost, I've done. Watch football.
What about one of my although you can't be Grace Campbell, Alistair Campbell's daughter, who's got a show here. What's it called again? Why I'm Never Going Into Politics. It's very funny. You should go and see it. But she said a brilliant thing. She gets to start an anecdote with, when I was on the London Eye with Vladimir Putin.
That's a cracker.
That's a great
I'm
start.
sorry. That's hard
That's
to
like I had lunch with Sir Alan Sugar, I think, and he began it. I remember when I signed Jurgen Klinsmann on my yacht in Monaco. Whoa! We all just stood back. I thought, leave it there.
Yeah.
Leave it there, Al.
Frank Skinner.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Frank, I went to see Michelle McManus.
Of course you did.
Remember her?
Yes, I do remember. Did she win or did she?
She won Pop Idol.
And I think she hosted You've Been Framed for a while, didn't she?
No, I think that was another lady.
I think that was...
There's
Wasn't that
another lady
Michelle
called
Mc-
No, that was
no, it
Lisa
was,
Riley. Do you
Lisa
remember?
Riley.
Yes, sorry, of course.
A confusion there.
I knew it was a brunette.
Yeah, that's what it was. But what she won Pop Idol in. Well, she at the beginning of the show she races on in a tiara and a green frock, and she shows the moment when Anton Deckenalzer is the winner.
What, on the show?
Yeah, she plays that. You hear, I've forgotten the music.
So she opens with that. That's good, isn't it?
She acknowledges it.
Yeah.
Get in early with that.
She got in early.
Can I just stop you there? I
Sure.
once saw Guys and Dolls live.
Yeah.
You know they had a hit with Save Your. That was Guys and Dolls, wasn't it? Save Your Kisses.
No, it's Brotherhood of Man.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I didn't see Guys and Dolls.
Oh, I thought you meant the musical, guys.
No,
Right.
I have seen that, but that's anyway.
Yes.
I saw
Brotherhood of Man.
I saw Brotherhood of Man live.
Yeah.
And they didn't show the clip of the Eurovision because I think they just couldn't get it, couldn't afford it or whatever. And they just they had recorded, one of them had recorded an announcement saying, and the winners of Eurovision. It was like really terrible. And they came on in sort of approximations of the outfits that they wore on the night. I mean, it was... Oh my goodness!
I like
me.
the idea of
I
on the
felt slightly seasick. It was so cruise. It was so
Yeah.
cruise ship entertainment.
Well, Michelle she showed the, and the winner is, with Anton Deck announcing it.
But that's a good start, I
It was a
think.
great start. And of course, I turned to Faye, a member of our staff, and I said, she's our assistant producer actually. I said, God, do you remember this? She said, yeah, I was 6, I think. I mean, that was a sick burn.
Yeah.
I remembered it very well. Then Michelle...
Is that why you've been calling her a member of staff all day?
How dare she be that young? She flew on. I'm going to say flew because she was in a
She's
green
Scottish,
chiffon.
isn't she? She's local
She
hero.
is.
Oh, hang on. You would have been impressed by that because you hover sometimes, don't you? So
But never over. It's weird.
And she sung... a song is called "I Am Fabulous," I think.
Oh, was that her?
No, I can't remember what was the hit she had. But she sung "I Am Fabulous." She did a lot of covers. She did "Baby Jane,"
oh yeah.
Okay.
the Rod Stewart song.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she does stand up as well.
So
as
it's
the
stand-up and
songs.
songs, okay.
Yeah, and she'll do "Baby Jane." It was an interesting demographic. There was a lot of sort of elderly male couples who looked a bit like Nick Hewer. It was that
Oh,
sort of,
yeah.
and they got up. We had a dance at the end.
Oh.
Yeah, and there
What was the stand-up like? Is she funny?
She did a joke, for example, about Rod Stewart being stingy with money and things.
Okay. She looks like she might be a
But
laugh.
she's a laugh.
Mick McManus, as I like to call her.
Do you know, I warmed to McManus as a person. I liked her and I think she's a nice person.
Oh, okay.
And I have to tell you, McManus, I mean, the pipes on her, she belts it out.
She can belt it out.
Yes, I'd listen to McManus's music.
Good.
She should be in a musical. She's a talented
has she got a
woman.
deal still? Do you know?
What, are you going to try and tout
Deal or
for
no
business?
deal?
What?
Is this a Brexit chat?
No, I
I don't think we're getting Michelle McManus involved.
Well, we'll see. Never say never with
Right.
with Double M.
She talked
M&M,
about
as I call her.
meeting Daniel O'Donnell. She talked because she met Bono and all these people. She met the brother from The Cause.
But after you've seen someone talking about being with Putin on the London Eye,
I know, Grace Campbell and Daisy. But she said about Daniel O'Donnell, she says he's mental for the Catholic Church.
is that what she said?
Yeah.
She's right into it.
I thought, he'd be
That's
nice.
a fabulous description,
I
isn't
liked it. I think you like McManus. He's mental for the Catholic Church.
That's, I wonder if she says that about the Pope.
Like Catholic Church is Bieber.
He's less so, isn't he?
I think Frank should have that as his Twitter bio. Mental for the Catholic
Mental.
Church.
How do you spell mental? Oh, I'm liking the sound of McManus more and more.
Frank Skinner. Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
Got a bit of a surprise message here for you, Frank. It's entitled "Hair Transplant." We were discussing earlier. How you might have had a hair transplant. The internet
No,
thinks.
we weren't discussing how I might have.
No, the internet thinks you might have had a hair transplant.
What?
There is some suspicion that David Baddiel is assisting rather than denying this rumour.
Yeah, maybe instigating.
Anyway, we've had an email saying hair transplant. I wonder if this has started because last time Frank was on Have I Got News For You, he wore his hair slightly longer and it was slightly wavy. I thought he looked gorgeous.
Well,
Who's this from?
Just saying, well, it's
David
actually
Baddiel.
from fellow Doctor Who fan and
Oh, there
Perkins
you go.
is the best should have been companion in the history of the show. I go back to Hartnell. I try not to read out praise, but I suppose if
Well,
they've
you
already
can read
said
that
you look
out.
gorgeous,
Go, Frank.
then
The Doctor Who
that ship
demographic love
has
your
sailed.
style.
Yeah.
there you go. No, well,
What an
that's
endorsement.
Can
now
I-
we know how the rumours are starting
I mean,
from your long hair on the telly.
it's yeah, exactly. My long hair. Anyway,
Someone also has tweeted us about, which I enjoyed enormously, who's a fan of Frank, saying his quick wit is like a magical skill. I think you should put that on your poster.
does that mean that when I break the person's watch in my handkerchief, I go, ah?
Yes.
No, but that's good. It's like a magical skill.
And it's-
Maybe it is a magical skill. What about that?
What?
What about that?
And
for
you
a
know what else
concept?
I'd say about Frank Skinner? He's mental for the Catholic Church.
I'll tell you what, I've really reverted since I've, because I'm living on my own up here now.
Play a little
for the
Loneliest
first-
Man.
For the
Living on
first-
my own.
For the first... Oh, I don't know that one.
He does the Loneliest Man in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't find
But
it.
he's got Living on My Own. I know that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've gone back. I've reverted to something I haven't had for years, the pie sandwich.
Oh, my goodness.
And I'll tell you something.
What's that?
Like a sandwich with pie in
Well,
the
you
middle.
make a cheese sandwich and you microwave a pie and you put that in the
No,
sandwich.
you don't. I don't have a microwave.
What? How do you live?
I live like
You
it.
worried about... You know those stories when they first came out about... I work... It was one near my desk and I've gone blind in one
I
eye.
find them a bit aesthetically problematic.
Do you? I see.
Yeah.
I like that cubist sci-fi appearance.
I think it's a 70s idea of the future and it disturbs me.
But that's my favourite
I know.
vision
Back
of
to
the
you
future.
and your microwave pie.
I've got a hover microwave. Yeah, it's... And I'd forgot how... I mean, I literally haven't had one for years and years and years. And
So you put the pie into a cheese sandwich?
yeah, so
Right.
the pie melts the cheese and
Right.
the butter.
How big is the pie? Ginsters or?
I'm just going to write
Well,
this down because I
the
like
best-
to catch a
I
recipe
mean, how
when
does
I'm
the
out
pie
and about.
look? Does it look like the orthopedic shoe? Is it that type of pie or?
No, it's you don't want too
Is it
thick
Fray
a crust
Bentos?
because you're already doing double carbs, obviously, because you've got the bread and the pastry. So not a thick, and then you put tomato ketchup on it, obviously.
Yeah.
But honestly, so once
Oh, I wish you had a camera for Emily's face during this link.
I'm not
Looking like
kidding.
absolute animal.
But once you've had one, I just every
You never go back.
meal since then, I'm thinking it's all right. This, but
I did think you looked
It's
a bit
not-
sad over Mexican yesterday.
I know I
Thinking
had
this could have been a pie
well,
sandwich.
I did have haggis burrito. Do you know haggis burrito? It's not a bad comic. Yeah, it's honestly once you've tried the pie sandwich, it's really a fantastic thing. Brilliant.
You're all right.
In fact, I'm mayor. What was the word? Mental.
Frank Skinner's mental for the pie sandwich.
I would honestly recommend if there's any culinary enthusiasts listening, give it a spin.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
You may have accidentally kick-started a gross foods text in, but it's the last link, so we won't let the ball roll too much
I
on
don't
this.
think it's gross. I mean, well, go on.
Well, 241 has texted, loving the chat about pie sandwiches, but my favourite whilst at uni was a large pizza topped with a chicken and mushroom pot noodle. Double carbs all the way for the man on the go.
Wow.
Steve from Stevenage.
Well, I used to like, and this is healthy, I used to like Brussels sprout and cheese sandwiches because, again, I like the cheese to melt, and the Brussels sprouts used to melt the cheese, but I didn't slice them. So it's a very lumpy...
Yes.
I don't know if you've ever seen a rabbit struck by myxomatosis. It's had an element of that about it.
Your flat must have smelt nice.
Yes.
Smelled lovely. But Mark, who works here at Fourth Radio, just nipped in to say that at Alun,
Uh-huh.
which is, of course, the Hawaiian football club.
Yes.
Now, the Scottish football club, Alun Athletic, that they have pie in a roll you can buy at the match.
Excellent.
So,
I know, but
I'm
you
not on
seized
my
upon.
own.
I know, but you seized upon that like it was the sort of Watergate smoking gun holding up the paper. What
Just
was that
saying.
info again?
It's not just me.
There's two of you then.
Double carbs. Look, when I was in the islands of Scotland, when you get the ferry from island to island, the regular dish is mac and cheese with chips, and you can have garlic bread. I mean, now you're talking
Brilliant.
about a carb explosion.
Triple threat carbs.
Hey. Fun. The other thing I've done is I meant myself. I did go so far as to do get some pasta sauce and wrap that
Did
around a
you?
bit of spaghetti.
Do you ever buy from the food trucks at all here?
No.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't. Frank doesn't.
From the food, I had a fabulous.
pulled pork.
I had. Well,
You were recommending
you
a
know,
bagel to me yesterday.
lonely up here. I did have a fabulous bagel from a place called Bros, actually.
Oh, really?
Really good bagel. And
I
I mean,
had a pulled pork and a Oh, I've had some lovely. A lot of chips with.
We're just talking about. We started with weather. We're just talking
fine
about
with
that.
I'm fine with both.
What I've done, the pasta sauce jar now is on my coffee table, and I use it as a place to put the wet tea bags.
Oh.
So I got a jar of wet tea
Hang on,
bags.
have you cleaned it out, the pasta?
Well, I've steamed it.
What? So you got a jar with old pasta sauce and tea bags? What? Oh my!
Could you send us a photo of that later?
Okay. Well,
I'm curious.
I'm living alone,
I'm
but my
interested.
family arrives soon. I'll be tidying up. It'll be different. I'm just so. It just reminds me what life used to be like. Oh, yesterday when I was young, so many songs. Yeah. So it's been. I'll tell you something. I haven't set the alarm since I've been up here.
Oh, haven't you?
Oh,
And I
what time do you
remember-
wake up? Au naturel then?
Well, I'm waking up about 9 instinctively.
Is that your normal time?
Oh, that's a lie. I set the alarm this morning, of course, because I have to get up very early.
Mm-hmm.
But I once read an interview with Mark E. Smith where he said he'd never set... I mean, he was a man who was prone to exaggerate. He said he'd never set an alarm in his life. And I thought, wow, that is something, isn't it? That's why he looks so good. And thank you so much for listening to us today. I apologise for the... there were some technical problems in the middle of it, but you know what? We battled on, and that which we lost may have been awful. That's the way to always
dare
look.
you.
It's the way to always look at it, I think. So if the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back again this time next week. Get out.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.